Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of October the 7th till the 13th, 2024. Now we are ahead of a really big week, and it's one of those weeks where there is so very much happening and in so many sometimes opposite directions that I think I'm not the only astrologer in this situation where I can only offer you my personal selection of aspects and energies that I think are more important, because to cover the whole thing would be, I don't know, very much impossible, because there is everything's important. So me personally, I think at least for this week, I have to somehow keep it short and simple, rudimentary, because on one hand, that is what the North Node in Aries is all about and is teaching us. Single mind it down if it's possible. And making a horoscope is basically like any other activity out there, so it applies. So this is exactly what I'm gonna attempt to do, to single it down to what matters the most and allow our, let's say, natural instincts, our life experience, everything that we have done so far in life that gives us power and navigation skills to take care of the invisible, that which is just the nitty gritty. So again, what you're gonna hear from my horoscope is without the minor aspects, square, semi-squares, square and a half, and semi-sextiles, quintiles, and all of that, because that would depict a much more complicated and maybe grimmer picture than it actually is. So let's just skip to the important things. And this week is going to be the host of two big highlights of the year types of energies. And this is because two very important and big planets are going to change signs this week. Sorry, change directions, not signs, directions this week. And we're speaking about Jupiter, who is going to go retrograde. And then we are speaking about Pluto, who is going to both of these planets going to stand still in the sky, but Pluto is going to prepare to go direct. But this week, really, both of these are just going to stand still. They're not going to be moving all that much, which means that both of their symbolisms, even if they will make opposite moves, for example, Jupiter retrograding and Pluto going direct, this doesn't matter right now because their symbolisms are going to be very amplified, especially Pluto, who is not just stationary, but also energetic. And it so happens that it also holds a pretty tight sextile with Neptune. And when Pluto and Neptune sextile each other in any context, that gives that leaves many channels open for the spirit, or for the invisible, or the unconscious, even the collective unconscious, to have a say in everything, basically. Because we know, and this is not anything new, that so much of our choices and everything that we do on an everyday basis is also, let's say, inspired by the unconscious forces and their inner balances. So when Neptune and Pluto, and it's not just the two of them, we can also include Uranus. So this is like a grand sextile, isn't it? So very powerful energy, very creative. Uranus brings the higher mind. Neptune brings, as I said, the unconscious and hence the spirit. And Pluto brings perhaps the earthly in Capricorn, of course, and the power game, the power dynamic. But Capricorn is also world stage, So the element of earth that has to manifest anything. So this is a big energy in many, many ways. Pluto, as I said, going direct this week, or basically just preparing, standing still, is gonna give an extra layer of power to this energy. So we must be aware that this is the cradle. This is the basically the room of the week and all of the energy, and basically not just the week. Actually, I can easily say all of the month. And besides this, there are certain aspects that are really, really gonna color the picture big time. And on the other hand, all of this energy can feel like a slingshot, but where it is, the sling is just being pulled back and back and back, and the target is fixated on. And the moment of release, the boom is gonna be, of course, and I think most of you guessed it, the 17th of October, around that period, when we have, oh my goodness, I'm not even sure what words to use here, but let's just keep it intense, fiery, uh, okay, explosive, full moon in the sign of Aries. I'm sorry. And what is very specific about that full moon is that it's gonna create a, prepare yourselves, cardinal grand cross, the most powerful, let's say, motivational energy in astrology. So it's gonna be heated, it's gonna be intense. This week is just the setup for that, and where it is possible, where it applies, the sling or being pulled back, being ready for the moment of release when the bullseye is fixated on, or the target. So, in a nutshell, even if I don't mention any aspects and planets and what they're doing, this is what this week is going to be about. So, it's really going to pull heavily on us. The full moon, the upcoming full moon, is going to be a big moment of, as I said, release, a boom, let's say. But that's one type of heaviness, an instant one. This week is like, I don't even know how to describe it, just weighs on us. It's not the boom yet, but it, so many things just weigh on us, and our life is so complicated, and we are so not in the mood to be dealing this. We cannot be adulting and still life. So I think I said enough. But anyway, let's get to the astrology. I'm gonna try to cover it very quickly and focus on the big and important stuff, the retrogrades. So we begin the week with a Sun and Saturn quincunx. So it's not just the Sun, Black Moon Lilith, the South Node, and Mercury, and some other minor planet in the sign of Libra. So we know and we can see it so clearly playing out in our lives and on the world stage, because Libra cardinal sign, it means it's very much out there as well. Diplomacy and talks and negotiations, Mercury. Sun quincunxing Saturn kind of means that the desire, need, urgency for peace is so very much there. However, Saturn in Pisces, the past still gets in the way. You know what I mean? And the, even if the need is like so urgent that big time, as in it doesn't even have measure, it's maximum that is possibly needed, and still the past gets in the way. So we might experience this in our personal lives as well, because I don't know, Libra, it can simply be like a contract, and the past can get in the way. We want to change, let's say, something as simple and non emotional, like we need to change that provider, mobile phone or what utility or whatever. We've been there for years, and like we saw from everyone, or I don't know, that there are much better and more suited for our needs deals out there. And maybe this contract gives some kind of big comfort, or and that past Saturn in Pisces, the wishy-washiness can get in the way. We just don't find the initiation. Maybe we need to sit on it another year or another year. This is when Saturn in Pisces, something getting in the way can, as or better, I said enough. It's getting in the way. So we need to do something with it. Not, of course, not just sit on it and accept it. But the quincunx is a weird energy. Sometimes we might not have a choice, but to do exactly that, just live with it, just turn a blind eye. But long story short, things will get in the way of diplomacy, and Pisces and Saturn, both of these energies separately, and of course also together, and with Neptune retrograde there as well, past, or the unconscious. So this can be illusions, this can be mood states, or this is how I feel, even if my feelings are totally unfounded. So there's that. Then and this is one of the bigger pictures, but this is more like at the beginning of the week. Mars squaring Mercury. Again, Mercury is in Libra, diplomacy and all of that. Mars in the sign of Cancer, not very comfortable, very passive aggressive, very irritable, very defensive, very sometimes toxic, but sometimes very protective of something sacred to them, like family, children, partner, community, country, etc. Borders. Sadly, yeah, borders. So square fights, but not usual fights, because both Cancer, Mars in Cancer, and Mercury and Libra are not all that confrontational, but Mars in Cancer is still very aggressive. You don't need to be necessarily confrontational to be aggressive and to do damage. You know what I mean? And Mercury in the sign of Libra, well, I'm not having any of that, because you're getting in the way of Libra justice, diplomacy, something very important in the now. So you see how this is a problem both collectively and also individually, because Mars in Cancer, we are defending something. That might be the inner child or my land, unfortunately. Sadly, for some people, it's not even symbolic, it's literal. They're defending their land. And others, family, others, children, others, Mars in Cancer is where defending doesn't have to mean war. It can from poverty, from famine, from illness, from whatever. So it's everyone has their Herculean task ahead of them with this long, long, long Mars in Cancer. Keep in mind that in December it goes retrograde. So Mars has an important message in Cancer for everyone, for basically for all of our timeline right now. So it doesn't matter if it's collective or individual. We are wise to do our best to understand this Mars and what it does for us personally. What reactions, what states, what moods, what deep inner truth, how we feel about something, does it evoke? And because Cancer is very past type of energy, it can also represent, our classical healing journeys from the past, from traumas, from family dynamics, houses. For some people, which house do I buy because I have the resources? But choosing is all the Libra energy and the aggression. Impossible. Maddening, driving the person insane. You can't choose. Sometimes you have everything, the money or whatever, the money, the time. I want to do it ASAP, and you can't choose. And something inside of you says, rather than to make a choice, just wait, even if it kills you on the inside. There it is, not a conflict per se, but a big inner conflict. Of that person will be in so much drama. And the theme, both Cancer and Libra. Other people, a legal case. Let's say that you're off the hook, but the finalities, for all the papers to go through and to really clear your name will take another year. And you're in the deepest frustration because it's justice is done, you're okay. And yet, minus a year from your life, okay, not maybe in a real sense, because I'm not speaking when someone's in prison or something serious, but still, plus a year you live with the factual reality as if justice wouldn't have been done. You know what I mean? The delay. For this person as well, this case as well, it's a drama, it's bad. It's like fate is the opponent, not a war, not a person, not a partner, but fate herself. There it is. We all live this out one way or another. So we will have this energy with us all the week. So angry words, impulsive action, or bottling up toxicity. Because remember, this energy does not mean necessarily confrontation head on. But the Aries full moon on the 17th of October does mean that. So that energy can play out where Mars bottles something inside of it. Big time, anger. And Cancer is a very, very toxic sign when it is very shadowed. Because the moon, the moon's shadow, Black Moon Lilith, right? Oh, there's poison there. Speaking about other sources of poison, Venus in the sign of Scorpio. She can be so toxic. Vengeful desires, desire Venus, vengeance, it can be linked to Scorpio very easily. There we go. Vengeance, spy, you know what I'm speaking about. You know that everyone, I think, knows that dimension one way or another, sadly. So that's also at play this week. Why? Well, later on a bit, Venus will quincunx Jupiter. So Venus in Scorpio wants to get to the bottom of things. Maybe not in a investigative mercurial way, but she needs to feel the truth, feel the truth. Hence will desire the truth. Jupiter in Gemini can dish it out in many ways because it's expert at that, right? That's Jupiter in Gemini is one of its expertise. So surprise, surprise, which won't go well. However, Venus and Mars are gonna hold a trine together, and this trine will be together most of the week. This is one of the saving graces. Whatever bad news you might hear in this horoscope later on, know that this is a big saving grace. This is where the universe's gift, which helps us cope big time with this. Why? Mars in Cancer with empowered action. This is where, let's say that it's a toxic situation. If even in nature, usually that which is toxic has a signature. The predator or prey or whatever, knows that, well, chances are this other being is toxic, so I better be careful or just stay away. So that can be avoiding a lot of bad, a lot of tension. But at the same time, this is also compromise. Okay, I understand the situation. It matured inside of me. I'm ready to make a compromise. I'm ready to release. I'm ready for something. Or I'm ready to get out of my comfort zone, which in a certain way can also be attributed to Venus and Scorpio. The bad comfort zone, let's say. Because in Taurus, that might be the good comfort zone, right? But anyway, Mars in Cancer, finally initiation time. Finally, I have the big purpose. I feel the big motivation for me to finally make the move to get out of comfort zone or the sorry, the that I'm in, because that can also be Venus in Scorpio. I took off the rose tinted glasses, and oh boy, am I in trouble. Oh boy, time to face reality. And that can be this trine. Facing reality can give power and strength. And the crab, the Cancerian energy. Just look at crab and crustacean documentaries out there and look at their behavior. They're so efficient when they're in trouble. When they're in trouble, that's when their superpowers and everything come out. So that's Mars in Cancer's good side. And another thing about crabs, especially those which dwell on the bottom of the ocean, when danger comes, the hard shelled, so the older, right, parental individuals get on top of the weaker ones whose shell hasn't hardened yet all that much. So they're defending each other instinctually. That's it. That is actually Mars and Cancer's best side. They share their defense, they share their nurture, they share everything. Hence, that's the definition of a community, a nation, if we want to philosophize a bit. So the symbolism, it's so much there. So there's power here and value, and we're doing something even if it's hard, or even if it's uncomfortable, or even if it's something, we're doing it. Another energy that is really, really, really helpful, this Mercury, okay, it's aggressed by Mars, right? However, it is trined by Jupiter, and a very karmic type of Jupiter, because it's standing still, right? Not moving, very amplified, amped up. So Gemini, let me give you the simplest example. Your life, you're in trouble. You realize in the Venus and Scorpio context that, oh boy, am I in trouble. But you have a sister, brother, sibling, or something to depict the energy of Gemini. Time to call in the reinforcement, and the reinforcement comes in, and suddenly, remember Mars trine Venus, the power is there. It's like from I don't know, um one of those very tragic stories where the orphan child is abandoned in the cold in the winter type of episodes. It gets to like family power type of story. So that can be a very positive twist. So, long story short, Jupiter trine Mercury provides also a lot of good stuff, cope, help in the shape of others. Gemini neighbor. A neighbor can be a saving grace. A bro, a sis, someone out there can definitely help you and is willing to help you. Jupiter, planet of generosity, planet and Gemini, non-judgmental. You're a bro, you're a sis. it's okay, I'll help you unconditionally, just because you are a bro or sis. There it is. That in itself can be massively helpful. So these two energies, and there is more positive energy, more empowerment, but I'll get to that later on because they need to perfect. These are going to hold the saving grace. These are going to be the coping. These are going to be the empowerment which doesn't let anything fall apart and which leads us to the solutions that we need and the help that we need. So, moving on, another thing that I want to mention, and it's general in the sense that it's all week, all month. Uranus is on Algol, right? Back on Algol, retrograde, leaders, big leaders, their actions. It doesn't mean that they're in danger necessarily. However, not, I wouldn't say that at the Aries full moon. They might be, but anyway, big leaders, their actions, their words, their whatever. It speaks for itself. Then moving on a little bit, let's say onto the 9th. This, well, the 9th, of course, is very, very important because it is officially Jupiter's retrograde date. So from the 9th of October until February the 4th, 2025. So going into next year. So if I can, I'm not promising this. Will try to make a Jupiter retrograde special video, but no promises because this energy plays out in my life as well, so you can imagine. But what is important? Jupiter justice, and justice is on fire right now. Jupiter in Gemini. If Libra is non-discrimination, Gemini in its most positive example is non-discrimination, but absurdly so, to the extreme. This is where an example, even though this is such a bad example, you put very different religious belief individuals together, and because they are genuinely, how should I say, loving human beings within themselves, of course they will see the positive in one another and will get along so beautifully. There it is, one of the examples. Sometimes we can be brothers even within diversity, or even if we should be enemies, we can still find fraternity there. So this is one of the best possible examples. And Jupiter Mercury trine, diplomacy. Remember Mercury, where Mercury has Libra, diplomacy. This is the good. Remember what I said with the Saturn quincunx. The past and whatever, the Pisces stuff gets in the way. Okay, but Jupiter in Gemini says, yes, but justice still needs to be done, and it is possible. Try harder. Then other Jupiterian expressions, what we believe, our philosophical system. I think that's the best possible expression of this. But Jupiter in Gemini, friends, other people who we surround ourselves with. Right now, relationships after a Libra eclipse, right, are on fire big time. Big choices, big decisions, or breakdowns, or whatever. But that is where the reason for this is they say a truth. They reflect something honest. We can't expect our relationships to be rosy and beautiful all the time with individuals who we have opposite philosophical systems with. It's impossible. When the philosophy of who it is that we are success in, we can no longer be friends as if nothing happens. You know what I mean? So that is why certain friendships and connections and relationships break down, because they're on very different high frequency. So it sometimes the fact that the simple human, the simple ego on ego is a good friend, sometimes that won't matter when the higher self has to walk away. So this is a very complicated and very almost maddening period when we might feel two opposite and contradictory feelings at the same time for the same person or whatever. So this is not an easy energy. And I totally understand that Jupiter stationing will make this worse, because we have to process it mentally as best as we can. Because Jupiter is debilitated, Mars is, Venus is, a lot of planets highly uncomfortable where they are. You know what and Uranus in itself is not a huge fan of Taurus, but this is nothing new. This has been from 2018 onwards, or yeah. So the energies, the planets are not comfortable. The sun is not comfortable either, right? So Mercury is okay-ish, but other than Mercury, and we can't consider the moon because it transits all through the week, so it will change. But the most of the planets within themselves are not highly comfortable, and Saturn, well, is being dissolved in Pisces. It's rigidity. So Saturn cannot provide the usual resistance. So you know what I mean. And Neptune being, let's say, slightly energetic still, it's flooding in. And the Libra planets, Sun and Mercury, especially this week, are gonna hold an opposition with Chiron. The wound, the self wound, the existential wound, the I am I or am I not wound? What am I? Wound. Or, well, I need to have an identity and a story because I need to be someone in the social or whatever world, and it's not a choice, it's a must. Well, I need to fill that in somehow. Because not everyone lived lifestyles where the sun is all that there. Some people who lived, sorry, more in the quiet or I don't within themselves, they can dish out a classic sun. They can't dish out the big life story and the they can't dish out any of that. But that doesn't mean they're not, how should I say, very powerful individuals. So not everyone will have such a colorful and big story sun, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay. It's not a problem because everyone lives this energy in their own unique, special way. So Chiron, all of this leads us to Chiron, where the self wound, sun opposing Chiron. Sometimes we need to fill that in, which lacks, because that Chiron in Aries can just represent a void. Not everything is a classic wound. Sometimes it's just missing. And I wanted to use a morbid example, but I'm not even going to exemplify this. You understand what I mean. So yes, but Mercury first opposes Chiron. So first we need to understand where the wound lies or be reminded of it. And then the sun, what we're going to actually be doing about it. Then let us move. Oh, before I move on, I just want to say that Jupiter quincunxes as it stand still as it prepares to go retrograde Venus. So this has a big theme, a big message on it. We'd better, it's almost like an ultimatum from the universe. We'd better figure out what our true values are under this Jupiter retrograde. That is one of our big tasks. And it makes so much sense because when Jupiter will end its retrograde, February next year, well, that's when also a lot of big things happen, nodal shift and other big astrological move. So we really must figure out what really our true values are. And Venus in Scorpio gives us how should I say, the really, really raw picture of that. The not rose tinted and not glove and not gentle, the raw picture of that. And we are wise to look at it. And, then another energy that, oh, yeah, Mercury is conjunct in the sign of Libra, Juno. So big endings, right? Big changes, big Plutonian moves, right? Because it's all about Pluto. Right now, it's all about Pluto. Everything's really about Pluto. But it's not how should I say, obviously there. However, it's very much there. It's noticeable. Sometimes this energy creates. Why? Because yes, it's much more about endings and culminations and big changes. But let's say there are individuals who, in certain contexts, are single, let's say. They do not have the relationship dynamic in their lives for this energy to do something massive for them. And this doesn't need to be a problem. It is just it is. It is how their lives is in the present moment. But this energy, the chaos of it, can bring them into a new situationship, which can turn into a relationship. And it's unexpected, it's surprising, it's Pluto at play. So this energy can also create new. And that new, because it's unexpected, it can really disrupt the lives of the two individuals, for example. I'm not looking for love, neither is the other person. And the situationship happens, fate somehow push it, and it turns into a real relationship. But that means everyone's lives is different. That means bye-bye career for both individuals, and hello, something new. So there it is. It can play out in so very many ways. And the new element of new, we must not forget, is also supported by the solar eclipse that just happened. It's a new moon, so new. Yes, for most people, it's the big changes, transformations, endings, the big, battle. For some others, it's I never asked for this, but I'm in it. And it's a new beginning. And I never asked for it. There it is. So there's that. Juno, Mercury, conjunct Juno, just that. It is actually, sometimes you just wake up in an alliance. And it is what it is. And we actually like it much more than we should. And then a whole new world opens up to us. This is also supported equally by later on, a bit later on, Mercury opposing Aries. Let's move to the 11th. So Mercury opposing Aries. Let's move to the 10th because this is when the opposition is exact. 10, 10, 10, yes. So not only numerologically is this a big day, not only Pluto is getting there on the 11th, right? To move forward, but we have Mercury opposing Aries. Aries is surprise, surprise. Aries is creational chaos. Aries is Cinderella. In the story of Cinderella, Aries is actually the fairy godmother. Why? Because Aries favors the underdog. Aries favors Cinderella. Aries says, I don't care about even the unfairness of destiny and fate. I don't care about the world. I don't care about the sisters. I don't care about that the prince is a prince. I don't care about I don't care about anything. If Cinderella has to fall in love with the individual, it doesn't care. I don't care that he's a prince. I'll make it happen, don't you worry. And I'll pull the prince out of the palace and Cinderella out of her misery. That's Aries. That's the fairy godmother. So, amongst the chaos and pain and suffering and doom and gloom, and something's on fire in our lives right now, amongst that, the Aries can play the best possible miraculous life-saving trick on us. Because Mercury was conjoined Juno. So this is one of those weeks where there might actually be a hero. The hero might not save us in a classic way. The hero might be saving us a tiny bit from the situation, and then we're in together with the hero. But that's a different dimension. That's where we are actually making it. We're fighting. We're okay. We're good with the hero. You know what I mean? So remember this. No matter how grim a situation might look like, Aries is there. You don't know what she will throw in. And Aries' work is not predictable, neither by divination. So you will not feel it, you will not dream it, you will not be warned, you will not get sign, you will not get synchronicity. Even if you're a prophet, you will not see this coming. So there's that. Then let's get to the 11th, where Mercury quincunxes Uranus. Surprise, surprise, big time. And weirdness. It's not a very good day to ask someone for marriage, because it can go in very many weird ways. But on the other side, sometimes weirdness, and these two planets are each other's octaves, so very communication, diplomacy with values and what we want to embody. Things can go weird, but sometimes weirdness means positive surprise, right? Oh, I'll say it, even if it's not appropriate. Sometimes weirdnesses, kinks, fetishes can be the way karma connects two big allies in something that they didn't even know that they had in common. A big business, a big, I don't know, whatever, a big Plutonian activity, right? And by Pluto on the 11th, of course, Pluto ends its retrograde. Technically speaking, it will just hang around the 29 degree because it is in November when it will actually make a move back into Aquarius. But that doesn't matter right now. And also, on the 11th, the moon will conjoin it. We will feel this so intensely, either because situations in our lives, but sometimes simply within our bones, right? Capricorn, the hard parts in our body, backbone. We will feel this either in our humor, our bone, because the moon is water, right? Or somehow we will definitely know Pluto is just going direct because it means serious business, and of course on the world stage. And we know, I'm not going to repeat the story of Pluto and heretic degree at Capricorn, because you heard it from me and every other astrologer. You already know. The collapse of the old. This is when things get serious, messy, not nice, but it's a must. It's fate. It's how times and cycles succeed each other. You know the philosophy. So you know that it's not going to be pretty. But remember the trines and what I said, the support energy out there. We must rely upon that. And on the 12th, this is when it's getting serious, because Mercury quincunxes Neptune. Yes, the power of fate here, definitely playing out big time. But it's a mystery. We don't know. This is like the Two of Swords tarot cards. We are blind, but our senses are not. The mind is blind, but other senses are definitely not. The intuition, the spirit, the instinct, it's alive. It's so alive. And on the other hand, non-related to drama and our personal this can be a paranormal activity energy, big time, because spirit, sometimes the partner, Libra, is the spirit. In ancient times, Libra was the gateway to the other side, right? So the other side is going to be active, and it's also the season, the start of the season. So you know what I'm saying. But Mars is already squaring the sun. So we are definitely feeling the intensity of the struggle. May that be diplomatic struggle, Libra, struggle with partners, struggle with decisions, struggle with settling something within us, struggling with our mood, struggling. Mars in Cancer, hormones, our hormones are on fire. And many times not in the nicest way. Sometimes anger, rage, resentment. So it's there. I'm sorry, but it's there. But we must cope. And another thing, Sun opposes Chiron. When we feel our wound deeply, it is that much more difficult to wound the other. This energy is dual. Sometimes it means the wound must be passed on. The victim will become the aggressor, and we see this play out on the world stage in such a clear manner that I don't need to detail further. And this is almost like a pathology, pathology. You know what I mean. This is where it's the energy gives us the individual no choice, or the group of people no choice, but to pass the wound on. It's almost like it's a demon that it possesses. The realms of Neptune and Pisces, right? But both Saturn and Neptune in Pisces next year and permanently in 2026 eliminate this, because they move on into Aries, the zero, the Fool in Tarot, having eliminated the whatever needs to be eliminated, let's say. So this is a weird time that we are living, very weird. And it's all about the wound and wounding. So sometimes the wound is like a demon that has to pass itself on. Other times it's the Christ, and you cannot wound anymore. This is where the soldier drops the weapon. They surrender to the wound, Chiron, the Christ, right? They surrender. And when I say Christ, don't understand it religiously. It's an energy of Kuan Yin, Buddha. There, I said other terminologies to understand that peace, that serenity, that kindness, that compassion. That this is where empathy, but not with another person, but with the divine in a passionate way, right? And because it's in a passionate way, religion and even Buddhism, nothing that is religious or nothing that is a system as such can contain it. So it's beyond really all religion. If there's a system and a structure in your head and you're following it, then that's already corrupt, because this energy is beyond containment, Pisces. It is just wild feeling. If I should describe it, it is the pure love of a dog. You can't systemize it. You can't explain it. You can't rationalize it. You just look in his eyes and feel it, right? It washes over, but it's so powerful that it dominates you. You can't deny that it's real, and yet it's invisible, and yet it's so that's it. It is beyond any control, containment, or understanding. It's beyond any system. It's beyond any religion. It's beyond your magic system, right? It's beyond your manifestation system. It's beyond your understanding of yourself. It is beyond. But that beyond, the empathy, you allow it in. You allow it in as if it would be the water of life, right? And that is the energy that suddenly starts opening gateways to miracles, right? Mercury quincunx Neptune. So let's get to the hard part, the 13th. There. Mercury energetic in Libra. That's energetic Libra, we all know, is the gateway to hell, right? But when I say hell, do not understand it in a Christian way. It is nothing negative in itself. It is a state. It is a frequency. And it is almost like if the reality is like an onion, layer after layer after layer after layer. It's just a layer. Let's not polarize it. But Mercury there, what does that mean? Intensity, truth. You cannot deny certain things. So heavy conversations, a lot of intensity, right? Let's make it worse, squaring Pluto. Pluto, who just went direct. Pluto is who's not moving yet. Not even a minute. That's so karmic that I can't even, that's so karmic that I have no words to depict. So put it into context. Libra, relationships, the heaviness, big choices, big decisions, or this doesn't have to be intense, it has to be negative, not really. Oh, no. Let me give you an example. You're a person whose chart has many squares, or even Grand Cross, or something like this. For you, chances are it's going to be a moment of triumph, victory, breakthrough. You're going to stand tall. Yes, for someone whose chart is flooded with trines, grand trines, this is going to be that moment when, oh boy, I thought I was not going to make it for any reason. Okay, but it doesn't have to be negative. It is just and it's just Mercury, okay, right? It's just Mercury. Mercury is so important, so I'm not discrediting Mercury, but the good thing is it goes on quickly. So this is where it's communication, mind, the words. Okay, words can wound for a lifetime. I'm not saying that it in Sun opposing Chiron, right? Okay, but at least the head is not being cut off in a real way, just with words. You know what I mean? So that is why I said just Mercury. I'm not Mercury, I'm Gemini, so Mercury, how can I discredit the boss? But at least it can move on quickly. You know what I mean? But of course, the sun will follow next week. So what What do I mean the sun will follow next week? The full moon, first of all, will follow next week. And that full moon will be the T-square at Pluto, T-square at Mars, cardinal grand cross. So that's what Mercury is preparing us for. However, the sun trine Jupiter. Now, if Mercury trine Jupiter, the friends being there, plans, communication, help being offered in a mercurial way, the sun trine Jupiter is where that actually feels so good, right? Good news, good communication, friends, partner. Imagine if all of this chaos plays out in a totally other area of life, not your partnership. Your partnership is absolutely normal or harmonious. Imagine if in your career, let's say, is a moment when you just want to stay in bed and cry, and your partner comes with something so empowering that it mind blows you. Your partner figures out a way to get you there and do it and be victorious, even when your career is breaking down. Well, you can imagine that you're going to be so overjoyed that all this doom gloom and the big crisis moment in your career from hell and nightmare all of a sudden is the best thing that ever happened to you. The bitter sweetness of fate. But if you're writing your own story, of course you add this in, right? Because this is ultimately alchemical gold. But Venus, remember Venus in Scorpio? She is opposing Uranus in her home sign of Taurus. So this is yet another uncomfortable energy. This can be very positive. Why? Let me give you an example and maybe you can understand it better. Big love. You found your love and your soulmate. You couldn't be happier. However, both of you are poor and one step from being homeless. That run down, dirty or whatever broken down place that you or bed just that you share, well, it's sacred. Venus opposing your we need to solve this. We need to get out of here. However, there's sacredness even in this. You know what I mean? And that rundown, dirty bedroom place or whatever is gonna be a golden memory. It's gonna, when fast forward 10 years, ooh, you are in that farmhouse, the garden, chickens, whatever. You are living your dream. However, at night, when you sit under the starry sky with your husband and blah, 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 this and that, how happy we are, you're gonna remember nostalgically that rundown bed or whatever, and that's gonna be the goal. That's gonna be more valuable than your farmhouse and chickens and your happy life altogether. That's gonna be so sacred to both of you. This is energy, that memory in the making. So it's tricky within the pain, among the tears, Neptune, or flooding in some places in the world. There is sacred, there is magic, there is the divine is there, literally, not hidden away this time. It's there for you to see it. It's almost like something or someone amongst the doom and gloom will also scream at you, hey, look, I'm the divine, came down to help you, symbolically. That may be a person, that may be a stranger just helping, that may be an object, that may be something internal, an idea. The divine is gonna be here. We just need to find him, what he is or who he is in this week and this situation in our lives. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that this was helpful and useful. And remember, the Chiron energy, the essence of the Christ, or call it however you want, and the grand sextile Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, magic, our soul's deepest magic is also going to be there. So thank you, everyone. Until next time, bye for now.